So I've had a lot of people asking me, and there's not a lot of information out there to explicitly tell you how to do this, how to purchase a little defense for yourself. A lot of people now, given this day and age, are looking to purchase something for them, and I don't really know the process to do so. So I'm gonna show you guys how to do that. First thing you want to do is find in your area a licensed place. Now, this is for Indiana, by the way. This can vary state to state, but this is how you do it in Indiana. You're going to find a place in your area that is a licensed place to sell those kind of things. Some pawn shops are licensed, not all of them. A lot of sporting goods stores, Cabela's, Dunham's, Rural King, Bass Pro, places like that. You're going to walk in, right? You're going to take a look at their inventory. I highly recommend you handle what they have. You're going to want to bring your ID, obviously, because they're going to ask for it more than likely. And you're going to have to be over 21. And no, in Indiana, you don't need to go get you a permit no more. You can if you'd like to, but you don't have to. But you're going to select something that you like. Feel free to ask any questions. Hopefully you have a really good employee who's going to answer all of those, who's going to show you how to clean it, take it apart, load it if possible. And of course, there are plenty of people online, such as myself, who would be more than happy if you DM me or if you were to shoot me a message. I can walk you through the process of cleaning or make recommendations, throw my 2 cents in towards your purchase. Now, obviously, if you have certain charges or if you've been hospitalized for certain reasons, you're not going to be able to do this. Now, going into a place where you buy these kind of things, there's a few things you're going to want to keep in mind that may be different than other stores you go to. Number one, you got to be a little careful what you say. Obviously, you're buying this for self-defense. Obviously, you're buying it to protect your home, and we know what they're used for. I mean, it is what they're good at. You don't want to make too many jokes about what you're going to be using it for, just because certain, especially corporations, take that kind of seriously and can refuse a sale if they believe that it's going to be used in a manner not that it's supposed to be. So you want to make sure you're not making too many off-color jokes, depending on if you know the employee, if it's, certain small businesses, may be a little more lenient with jokes and stuff like that. But some corporations especially are a little picky about what you say when you're going in there to buy something like that. Be respectful, don't call the employee out his name or, something like that. And then be clear with what you want. Don't be afraid to ask questions. If you don't know how to do something, it's better to ask and look dumb than to not ask and try and figure it out on yourself and hurt yourself or somebody else. So there's no such thing as a dumb question when it comes to those kind of things. Better to ask and learn than to mess around and find out. And when you have decided on one you've wanted, they're going to inform you of any other prices. Some places will charge for the background check. Some places have a waiting time. It's good to ask those questions before you make the purchase. Now, once you've decided on what you want, they're going to present you with a form. It's just a background check form. Some people call it a 4473, it's a little fancy term people like to use for it, but it's just a plain Jane background check. It looks intimidating, it looks scary, and the person cannot help you with it. You can't have somebody read it for you. You can't have somebody fill it out for you. So being able to read and write in English pretty well is going to be an important skill to have here. It ain't got to be perfect, but it's got to be legible, which is what they're looking for. Like I said, don't be intimidated by it. It looks pretty scary. There's a lot of questions, a lot of boxes and bubbles. They're going to want you to check and not check, and they're going to be adamant that they cannot explain the questions, they cannot help you, they cannot write it out for you or read it or translate it for you. So you're going to be kind of on your own in the dark with this one, but I'm going to show you guys as much as I can how to do this form, without violating any rules or anything. Okay, so this is an example of the form they're going to hand you. Now, this may look different. Some people will put it on a tablet. It'll be electronic. Some people will do like how I do, old school with the paperwork. So, like I said, being able to read and write is going to be a skill you're going to unfortunately have to use here. Now, it looks scary, looks a little intimidating, but I'm going to break it down for you as best as I can to make it a little bit more manageable and a little bit easier to understand. So the first thing that the employee who is selling it to you is going to do is fill out this section here, which is going to include the manufacturer, the model, serial number, what type it is, caliber, gauge. So you want to double check that does match what you are buying. double check that it is the caliber you wanted, make sure it's the right model you wanted, etc., etc. And then they're going to tell you to do numbers 9 through 23. And that's all you need to do, number 9 all the way to 23, right? So it's going to start with your last name, first name, middle, your address, city, whatnot. Pretty basic information, and they do not like abbreviations. So if your legal name is Andrew, they don't want you to put Andy here. You got to put your whole legal name. And to the non-binary folks and the trans folks, unfortunately, they're going to go by your legal name. So sorry in advance for that, but they're going to want your legal as it shows up on your ID information. It's going to have stuff like your address, what city you live in. Do you live within the city limits or do you live within the city outskirts? What state you live in, zip code, county you live in, where you were born at, foreign country if it applies, height, weight, etc., etc. Here's something that people miss all the time. These are 2 separate questions. They first want to know if you're Hispanic or Latino, or if you're not Hispanic or Latino. After you have answered that, then you would mark what race you are after that. And then don't forget number 19. It's kind of hidden in there, what country you're a citizen of. And so after you've marked that, like I said, don't forget number 19. It's going to come over here to yes or no questions. Now, the important part with this section, which can get confusing because they word it a little weird, read the whole question in its entirety. Don't just try and skim it. Don't just go by the last few words. Read it in its entirety and mark yes or no, which applies to you. You want to mark, it's going to ask you, do you intend to sell, otherwise dispose of this firearm? You would tell them yes or no. Are you under indictment for a felony? You want to tell them yes or no. Now, after this, on the paper ones, you're going to then flip the page. And you're going to come to the other side. Now, up here, you've got more yes or no questions. Now, it's going to ask you, are you an alien illegally in the U.S.? Tell them yes or no, depending on which applies to you. Have you been adjudicated as mentally defective or committed to a mental institution? You would tell them yes or no. After you have answered all of those, you would then sign here with today's date there. And that's all you have to do. Because that, as you can see, is number 23. You go all the way from 9, that was on the front side, all the way to 23, which is here on the back side. And then you would then hand it to the individual, and then he is going to run your form through the, he'll either call it in or he'll do it online. Could take anywhere from 5 minutes to a few days, just depending, especially for first-time buyers. Now, once he has gotten the okay from the ATF and the state police, once he's gotten the green light, or the proceed, as you like to call it, he can then take your money, and then he can give you your firearm, unless there's like a waiting period or something at that particular location. He's going to give you your item, and then unless that particular location has some kind of waiting period or a delay for some reason, they're going to hand it to you, and then you can make your purchases for anything else. Now would be the time to purchase maybe something to carry it around in, extra magazines, maybe any kind of freedom seeds that may go into your item. Now would be the time to buy that. And then you can go home, and you now are a proud owner of that item. And here in Indiana, at least, and a lot of other states in the U.S. now, you do not need to go online or anywhere else to get a fancy-dancy concealed carry permit. Here in Indiana and a lot of other states, you can, if you're an Indiana state resident, you can carry your item concealed or open, however you like to, without having to get a permit. So long as you are over 21, and so long as you are an Indiana state resident, and that you bought your item legally. And it's really that simple.